Roll Tide, everybody, and welcome to the Bama Tailgate Show. Got a lot to talk about today, including the quarterback. Bama, are they going to be better with Ty Simpson than they were with Jalen Milroe? SEC Media Days, a lot of talk about the quarterback position with Kalen, DeBoer. Still didn't want to commit to Ty, but you know he's the QB. But Paul Feinbaum says, hey, Bama's going to be a better team because of Ty Simpson. And it's one of the things that held Bama back last year, the quarterback spot. We're going to talk about that. We're going to get into the confidence that Alabama players had at SEC Media Days. Some of the guys that got up there and talked, saying the right thing. And then a special contributor, Connor Nelson, makes his debut. We're brought to you by Pearl River Resort over in Philadelphia, Mississippi. Now's the time to go out there and play a little golf. The Azaleas, the Oaks, two amazing golf courses at Dancing Rabbit Golf Course. It's the Augusta you can play. You don't have to have a membership to play golf there. And on top of that, you can stay at the clubhouse, right? And then get a golf cart right over to Pearl River Casino, Dancing Rabbit, and Silver Star. And you can play the slots. They're great. They got everything you need at Pearl River. Also, we're giving away 2 sets of tickets to see Bama and Wisconsin through D Community. That is our Web3 site we're building right now. The community is part of what we do, and we're excited about bringing that on as well. All right, let's get the show started. All right, Roll Tide, everybody. There he is. Connor Nelson joins the Bama Tailgate Show. First time on the show, a guy that we have had behind the scenes for a while. You guys just haven't seen him in person yet. So we're going to have to get him geared up with some Bama gear. But let's get into this right now, Connor. Let me just get this started. SEC Media Days. Bama was on Wednesday. Kalen DeBoer comes out. He's talking about Ty Simpson making the throws and leading the team and didn't commit on Ty. But you know Ty's going to be the quarterback, right? Don't want anybody transferring. Want to have a battle during the fall camp, which is about to start. But then Paul Feinbaum comes out, and he's like, look, Bama is going to contend this year. They're going to be better with Milroe. Milroe was awesome and terrible. He didn't say it like that, but that's really the truth, right? The amazing stuff and then struggling. Ty Simpson's going to be a lot more consistent, and that's only going to help Alabama.
Yeah, it's all going to be about the experience factor for me. I know all these answers from the coaches and Kalen DeBoer, just, kind of promoting the fact that he wants his players to be at the top of their game and competing against each other. He thinks that's going to create an overall better product on the field. But as a fan, I'm crossing everything except my shoelaces, basically, for this, because you don't know what you're actually going to see once they get out there onto the field in the big SEC stage. So that's my biggest thing is, how are these guys really going to perform when the lights are shining?
Yeah, he said mechanically he's pretty tight with everything. He does a nice job. Throws are catchable. I think that's going to help Alabama. He's the coach's son. He's been in the wings for 4 years, right? Ready for this opportunity. The team believes in him. But I think it's going to help Alabama to have a drop-back quarterback because I think it's going to help the running game. And when Shank's on here, he's constantly talking about you got to run the ball. Run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. And he's right. But you're going to be able to run it more because you're going to be more focused on the run because of the fact that you're not going to have a quarterback that you can just let run the football. And it felt like last year, which was one of the biggest strengths that Milroe had, that they relied on that. And when, they took that run away from him, he his value dropped a lot. When you look at the Bama championship teams, it was running backs running the ball and quarterbacks throwing the ball or handing the ball off to those guys.
Yeah, so what's your preferred style of quarterback then, Nick? Are you looking for the guy who can get out of the pocket and run on that 3rd and long when he needs to and sacrifice his body, or that pocket passer?
Yeah, it's a great question, too. I mean, I liked Milroe. Like, I and everyone on here knows that. I liked Milroe. I loved him until the end of the season, and then the watch the drop-off. The footwork thing, where they were kind of being able to read whether he was going to hand the ball off based on whether his feet were apart or together. Wasn't able to really adjust that. It looked like when they were changing defenses on him late, he struggled trying to figure out what was going on. But there was also this dynamic ability that I love that's hard to defend, and that just goes back to playing the game when you're like, man, when you have a guy that can throw the ball but then can run, it's very difficult to defend that. And you saw the first half of the Georgia game where he was amazing at that, right? So I like a quarterback that can run, but what you really want to do is, well, there's a couple of things. If you can be the quarterback that they have to defend the pass on because they can pick you apart. I thought Bryce Young could run a little bit, but it was his passing ability that made him Bama's best quarterback ever. Tua was probably my favorite all-time Bama player, and he ran the ball, but he threw the ball first. I feel like sometimes when you rely on the quarterback to run, they take that away. And then all of a sudden you got them pinned in the pocket. Those guys can become very one-dimensional, right? But you look at the championship teams that Bama's had, A.J. McCarron, Greg McElroy, Jake Coker. These are all guys that drop back and throw the football. And so that's why I feel like you got to be able to throw the ball. And the other thing is it felt like last year the running backs would kind of disappear in some of these games. And I don't think it's a coincidence that Justice Haynes transferred because he wasn't really getting a lot of runs because the quarterback was taking them all. Where I love the running quarterback like Milroe, and this is the thing that's going to be kind of undervalued until the season starts, is that when you get inside the 20, the guy's going to get in the end zone. Bama was so good inside the 20 because of his ability to run the football. And that's the thing I worry about moving forward with the offense. Are we still going to be able to score at that clip inside the 20s? And you look at the numbers, Bama did a great job on that. Now, the other thing that I thought was interesting at SEC Media Days, which I'm not surprised about, but it's that the guys were kind of very focused on saying, hey, we haven't made it yet. Caden Proctor talking about the offensive line. We haven't proven anything yet. Bama's offensive line has come into the season the last 2 years, not counting this season prior, with a lot of hype, and I don't think they lived up to it. It's his offensive line now with Tyler Booker in the NFL at Dallas, and he's the guy that's projected to be a top 10 pick. I thought he handled himself well at SEC Media Days. He looked confident. He's grown up. I mean, we saw this guy even transferred and came back, talked about that, but he's saying, hey, we haven't proven anything yet. And with that said, I like that. And the other guys are talking about that too, trying to get back to the Bama standard, which is contending or winning national championships.
Yeah, the Bama standard was, I feel like, something that came up a lot. And you mentioned these guys seem like they're hungry. I think that's the culture that's trying to be shown through the players. And DeBoer was asked that specifically. He was like, hey, did year one live up to the Bama standard? He asked a couple of clarifying questions, but then eventually said, well, if you ask us internally, no, we didn't make the playoffs. And that's kind of what it boils down to. So I think that kind of hunger and that sort of mentality, something that Shanks talked about on this show before, is that's going to really help this team going into a longer regular season this season.
Bama's done a great job recruiting. Obviously had that run a couple of weeks ago, putting in, a bunch of blue chip guys, more 5-stars than any other recruiting class. DeBoer's done an excellent job of that. They're winning the in-state battles, although we're waiting on Tank. I mean, I think that's the one, which I've said from the beginning that I circled, and it's going to be Bama versus Oregon there, with Texas A&M in the mix, but it's Bama, Oregon, and we'll see. I think Bama gets them. I hope so. So I give him, A plus in the recruiting area. The way that he has handled the media, way better than when Saban was coaching. Goes out of his way, does a ton of shows. I love that about Kalen DeBoer. The team kind of representing Alabama in the right way. Yeah, that's great. It just comes down to being a little more disciplined and winning these games, like handling success. And I think that is an area where Kalen DeBoer and Alabama are going to do a better job this year, just because I know he's focused on that, and he's a guy that knows what he doesn't know. And I think that makes him such a great coach, right? So that you really get the vibe with him that he pays attention to what is going on. Like sometimes these guys get in these coaching jobs and they get into a bubble but it really feels like he's constantly paying attention to the things that are important.
Yeah, the things that are important right now, it seems like that huge recruiting class you've been talking about. I'm just curious, though, you mentioned all these 5 stars. Who do you think in this recruiting class is going to be the first guy to make an impact, whether it's this season or down the road?
And that's a great question. And when you look at recruiting classes, Bama's right now number 5 in the country. You start with the 5 stars because those are the guys that are coming in and are in positions of impact, right? I think Jordan Edmonds or Xavier Griffin are 2 guys that I would keep an eye on. Zaya Edwards too. I mean, anybody in the defensive secondary or on that defense that comes in with a 5-star, I'm guessing that those guys are going to come in and play right away. They're going to get the opportunity to do that. And Bama's secondary right now is as good on paper as any secondary in the country. And then these guys are coming for like that next step. We're going to lose guys to the NFL. These guys are going to get an opportunity to jump in right away. So Darian Morgan's one of my favorite players that Alabama got. He's another 5-star guy, but it's at the wide receiver position. Can he be like Ryan Williams? That is yet to be seen, but he comes in with the accolades and he can also look at Ryan Williams and be like, look, the guy was 17, supposed to be in high school, and they're getting him the ball. Like, he's not sitting on the bench, and I don't know how that would have looked with Coach Saban. I don't know if Coach Saban would have played him as much. But he also forced them to play him, so we'll see if Sadarian Morgan's able to do that. I think it's tougher to get in the wide receiver position right now at Alabama because there's so much depth, but you know what? Things change. I mean, look, we had 6 guys transfer last year. So that could also factor into it as well. All right, Connor, this is the part of the show where you take over. You're going to tell us some stuff, what's going on around the world. I can't wait. Obviously, this is in honor of our fallen Conrad, the late, great, big, sexy Elmo. And, kind of in that same ilk, which we miss, big, sexy every single day. But throw it out there. Let's see what you got today.
First off, honored to be pinch hitting for the big sexy and attempting to fill the shoes of this role here on the Bama Tailgate Show that's been loved so widely. So going to do my best, Bama Tailgate Show fans. But Mick, first thing I got for you today, it's a soft hitting one first. It's National Sour Candy Day. Does that hold anything in your head right now?
Yeah, look, I'll tell you guys this. I've never been a big candy guy. And partly because I'm so hyperactive anyway that all candy does is it's like crack to me. Like I get, so never been a big candy guy. One of my buddies growing up was a fella that ate a lot of candy. He liked those whatchamacallit candy bars, which were actually pretty good. But I gained weight so fast too that I try to stay away from all that stuff. But I will say this. I'm pretty good at drinking, and there have been some drinks, like sour beers and stuff that are kind of like minted towards candies. I don't like those either. So I'm not the right guy. I guess to me, like Sour Patch Kids, no. There were these jelly beans. You ever see this? It's like these jelly beans, and you get a bag of jelly beans, and it'll be like, like strawberry and cookies and cream and all this. But then there's like another one that's mixed in there that's like puke flavor or like dog shit flavor, whatever. Like they have all these like weird, they're mixed in. And the game is that you're supposed to. Have you seen these before? And
yeah, it's like a game they play. Oh, I hate those. You spin the wheel and you get to pick one, and they either have a good option or a bad option. The Bean Boozled.
Who wants that?
Oh, I don't know. You half the time you end up eating
like
throw up.
Right. Here's the cat piss flavor, and you're like, get that out of my mouth. I thought it was lemon, but they were both yellow.
Makes me think, what if somebody one day had just switched out all of Marshawn Lynch's Skittles or something like that, or all DK Metcalf's candy for some of these Bean Boozled.
Somebody might take a beat down.
Oh,
those are some pretty big guys.
That'd be terrible. But to transition from that to another place where they may have been eating some candy, some fun events in NFL football history. Joe Namath on July 18th, way back when, finally renounced his rights to the Bachelor 3 bar, something that had been so controversial in sports, maybe one of the most controversial decisions in football history between bachelorhood and footballism. I mean, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, look, Joe Namath played his college football at Alabama, right? From 62 to 64, Bear Bryant came all the way down from, what was it, Beaver Falls in Pennsylvania to become Bama's quarterback. And his nickname eventually became Broadway Joe. And he's still the only quarterback to win a Super Bowl in Jets history. That's the only time they ever went. They beat the Baltimore Colts in a game that broke my dad's heart, who was a huge Colts fan, and he talked about that a lot. The year that they lost to the Jets and the Mets, the Orioles in the same year, right? 1969. But this guy, can you imagine Joe Namath in this era? With social media, and you can just take your phone and you can film him doing stuff and follow him around. I mean, he was a star back then, right? The fur coats and all that stuff. Then he had the bar, known for like staying out late. I would have loved to just hang one night with him. We talk about Snake Stabler a lot down here, right? Because I'm at the Bama, being part of the Bama family, which I'm proud of. He was long before me. I worked with him at the Crimson Tide Sports Network and loved him. Everybody loved him. Like that quiet, kind confidence, that Snake had. And I kind of put Joe Namath, even though he's not down here hanging at the Bama, kind of in that same category. I mean, everybody knows that these were the godfathers of fun, right? Not only did they play at Alabama and win all the time and play for Bear Bryant, get in trouble and all this stuff, like the Snake would tell the stories on the broadcast. They were just fun people. And Joe Namath is definitely a fun dude. Super cool. And I don't know that they're even as popular as Tom Brady is, winning the Super Bowl, which, by the way, I'm wearing a pair of shorts right now, Bama football shorts, that were from the Tom Brady. I should show you these, guys. These.
All right, here we go.
Right here. See that?
You got to zoom in on the logo. Look at that. FedEx.
So those are from, I was thinking about how old these were now. That was from when Bama lost to Michigan in the Orange Bowl when Tom Brady was the quarterback. And I still have them. So, I mean, obviously Nike must make some quality gear. But at the end of the day, as popular as Tom Brady was, Joe Namath back in his day blew him out of the water. And I'm not talking about football popularity. I'm talking about just culturally, right? I mean, he was like the guy. So the ladies loved him, like he had all that charisma and pizzazz, the fur coats and the bars and all that stuff. But obviously, it's hard running bars. You and I both bartended, that. And for whatever reason, it was time for him to get out of it. And then it's like, well, I'm going to Joe Namath. No, you're not. No, it's actually not Joe Namath's bar anymore, right? So you're not going to be able to use that.
Yeah, it's such a sad story. I mean, there's a quote here that he held in a press conference before he finally gave it up. It reminded me of the Wolf of Wall Street scene where Leonardo DiCaprio's up on the front. He's like, I'm not effing leaving. And he basically said, I'm not selling. I quit. There was a big press conference where Namath quit for about, I don't know, what was it, a couple of weeks, if that. And then he finally came back and said, yeah, okay, I'll be done with the bar. I'll come back and play football. And I think you said it best, man. I wish social media was around back then. It would have been like a Johnny Manziel sort of thing. Probably would have hurt his theoretical draft stock if they had.
Yeah, right. He did it all, man. He really did it all. All right, well, thanks, Connor. Let's do this again soon. You guys get in the comments section, like and subscribe, obviously. And thank you to Pearl River Resort for being a great partner on here. As always, talk about them constantly, but always great music acts there. The weekends are fantastic with all the live bands playing at the Silver Star, Golden Moon Casino. You got the sports book, the Timeout Lounge at Golden Moon. And now's the time. Look, what do you think Bama's going to do? You saw them at media day. You saw, we've seen everybody now. What are the Crimson Tide going to do this year. I think they're going to win the SEC. But do you think that? Are you willing to put your money where my mouth is? We'll go over to the Timeout Sports Lounge and do that. And also, as I mentioned before, D Community, partnering with D Community right now, and you guys are going to have a chance to go there and win tickets to Bama, Wisconsin. They were part of our crew during the Gating and Grilling segment last year on the radio tailgate show with Jake Coker, and they're going to be a part of that as well. So we're glad to have them. But thank you, Connor, and thank you guys for hanging, and roll tide, everybody.